The 2002 film We Were Soldiers is often praised as one of the most authentic portrayals of the Vietnam War. Much of this realism comes from director Randall Wallace's commitment to depicting the Battle of La Drang with historical accuracy. The movie is adapted from the book We Were Soldiers Once and Young, co-authored by Lieutenant General Harold G. Moore and journalist Joseph L. Galloway, both of whom experienced the battle firsthand. The story centers on Moore, portrayed by Mel Gibson, and his wife Julia, played by Madeleine Stowe. He arrives in Vietnam in November 1965 and is quickly ordered to lead roughly 400 soldiers in a mission to engage enemy forces responsible for attacking a base in the La Drang Valley. Vastly outnumbered, Moore and his men are soon surrounded and must fight for survival against a 4,000-strong NVA force. A secondary storyline focuses on Julia, who takes it upon herself to deliver casualty notices to the families of fallen soldiers. In the film's climax, Moore calls a broken arrow, a distress signal requesting all available air power to prevent his unit from being overrun. The airstrike causes heavy casualties for the NVA and Viet Cong, but also tragically results in some American losses due to friendly fire. Despite this, the overwhelming air support shifts the momentum, enabling Moore's unit to push back the enemy and regain ground. The NVA make a final assault, but the American troops repel the attack and reclaim the position lost earlier. After accomplishing their mission, the soldiers gather at the landing zone for extraction. Moore insists on staying behind until every one of his men, dead or alive, has been safely removed from the battlefield. Not long after the Americans depart, the NVA return and take control of the area once more. Moore continues his tour in Vietnam, and after a year of combat duty, he finally reunites with Julia at home. The actual Battle of La Drang occurred from November 14 to 19, 1965, with the heaviest combat unfolding around two key helicopter landing zones, LZ X-Ray and LZ Albany. Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore and the 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry Regiment fought fiercely at LZ X-Ray for 3 days, starting on November 14. A major difference between We Were Soldiers and historical fact lies in the film's depiction of the battle's conclusion. In the movie, the fighting ends with Moore's evacuation and a dramatic final charge. In reality, the engagement continued until American forces regained control of LZ Albany, marking the true conclusion of the operation. The 2nd Battalion's 7th Cavalry Regiment, under Lieutenant Colonel Robert McDade, didn't enter the battle until after Moore's men were extracted from X-Ray. Once on the ground, they were joined by the 2nd Battalion, 5th Cavalry Regiment. On the following day, both battalions were warned of incoming enemy bombers targeting LZ X-Ray, prompting a relocation. While the 2nd Battalion, 5th Cavalry marched toward LZ Columbus, McDade's men headed to LZ Albany, capturing 2 North Vietnamese soldiers en route. These prisoners were interrogated by McDade, who, along with many of the battalion's officers and radio personnel, left the column for a briefing based on the intelligence gathered. Meanwhile, the rest of the battalion waited in silence, unaware of what lay ahead. Fatigued after days of intense combat, they were caught off guard when hundreds of enemy troops moved in under cover and launched a devastating surprise attack. Hearing of the ambush, the unit heading toward Columbus dispatched Bravo Company back to Albany to assist. Their intervention was key in repelling the enemy long enough to evacuate the wounded. No further attacks occurred that night. On November 18th, U.S. troops recovered the fallen from the battlefield. Though combat had ended, the Battle of La Drang was not officially over until the following day, as it took nearly 48 hours to retrieve the dead. James Lawrence, a survivor of the LZ Albany clash, later reflected on the aftermath. He made it his mission to remember the fallen, especially his closest friend, Lieutenant Don Cornett. Looking back, Lawrence recalled, "Back then, Stars and Stripes would publish casualty lists and I had a red pen. I started marking the names of the guys I knew who were listed as KIA. I checked off 65 names. That's when the full weight of it hit me. I was overwhelmed. I just couldn't process it." Though left out of We Were Soldiers, the battle at Albany was just as brutal as that at X-Ray. Out of the 500 men from the 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry Regiment, 155 were killed, and only 84 were fit to return to duty immediately.